Galloway's peer network tech ability project.
Welcome everybody to this event today about the Tech Ability Project. I'd just like to obviously firstly just introduce everybody. My name is Andrew Coleman and I'm Assistive Technology Coordinator at Galloway's. We've got Tina Boddington, who is our Project Coordinator. We have Graham Longley, who is our digital partner from Aspire CIC. And we have the wonderful June Arkley, who has been a participant on the Tech Ability project. And we've also got Natalie Walker, who is communications coordinator at Galloway's. So we'll all be talking to you today about the project. If we go to the next slide, that would be great. Okay, so Tech Ability at the beginning. Oh, it says my name at the top here, Andrew. So where it all started, as you know, the last 12 months has been particularly difficult, especially with COVID. And Galloway's, we wanted to find new ways of working with people. We've been able to work with people who have got tech already that need support with assistive technology. But the barrier that we had because of COVID was not being able to demonstrate tech to new people. And it was really finding a way around that. We've already done a lot of work over the last 5 years with the Wright Charitable Trust, where we've been funded to deliver assistive technology programs at Galloway's. So we had a lot of the background, a lot of the research done that we needed to apply for funding to the Catalyst Digital Fund, the National Lottery Fund. How the idea developed in terms of what we were going to do was networking. It was speaking to people, speaking to you guys, and I had a great conversation with a lady called Tracy at Site Support in Hull, and they'd come up with a really great idea of providing visually impaired people with a tablet that would give them access to social opportunities, being Zoom and networking, within the pandemic. And the charity were able to log on to these tablets and say, hey John, hey Sue, I'm just going to connect you now to the group, and you can talk to everybody. And so they were able to remotely control those devices, which I thought was an absolutely brilliant idea. And then I thought, if we can do that. Yes, we can do that, but we can also, add on training and teach people how to use these devices as well. And we can do that remotely and over the telephone. Okay. Can we just go back to that original slide there, Lou? Oh no, I'm still on that. No, there we go. Sorry about that. The pilot project aim was to loan out 15 data enabled tablets to people who've got limited access to the internet or limited digital skills, and it was to provide each individual with 8 hours of one-to-one remote training to use accessibility software. And we decided to go with the package Synaptic, which a lot of you will be familiar with. For those who are not familiar with Synaptic, Synaptic is an accessible application that runs alongside an Android tablet to make the experience easier for visually impaired people. It's more compact, and it's a great start for somebody who may be learning to use a digital device from the very beginning. So we wanted something that was going to be manageable and was going to be easier for people to use. Okay, we'll go to the next slide, if we can, please. And it's over to you, Tina.
Okay, so this was I was involved really with the pre-work, really to try and get the funding for this particular project and to follow up Andrew's idea. And it was great that we'd done some work with Eric Wright, so I was able to look at the work that Andrew had done and his team, and look at some of the case studies that Natalie had developed from the project. And we also did one-to-one interviews as well. And we were able to develop user statements, which is what the Catalyst funding were very interested in. So I'll just tell you one of the user statements, but it was, as a visually impaired person, I need to know what can help me so that I can participate in a digital world. And we developed this sort of model, and we talked, the fund's very keen about you talking about systems design. So where you do interviews, you define what the issue is, you then develop a prototype that's going to sort of overcome, hopefully, the issue. You test the prototype, and then it sort of goes round in a circle again. So this project just sort of seemed ideal for that. So we applied to Catalyst, and we were very lucky to get funding. I think it was about 17,000, well, nearly £18,000 worth, of which about 6.5 was staff time, and about sort of 10 was actually for the purchase of the equipment. And then we also had an opportunity for a digital partner to come on board, and that was absolutely fantastic. So Graham, obviously, the bill, and his contract was actually with Catalyst. So we didn't have to fund that. That was something that Graham separately bid for his time. And when we put in the original application, we said that we really wanted someone that could help sort of Andrew with the training, the sort of practical program. So, Graham's Catalyst, sort of stood out by far as the best one. So that's where we got to. So next slide, please, Lou.
Okay. Oh, it's back to me, and we've got Graham joining us as well. Hiya, Graham.
Hi, Andrew.
Oh, Graham, it's been a great journey, hasn't it? So far on the project, it really has.
It's been a privilege to work with you guys on the project. It really has. Thanks to Galloway for the opportunity.
So just to really kind of look at the project. Firstly, really just to talk about the equipment. And why we used it and why, and we looked at lots of possibilities here. We did look at and I did originally look at Apple products as well. And the whole kind of thing around the Apple products was the limitations really on being able to remotely access those devices and actually take control if needed be, and that's something that's not particularly quite difficult, not possible at the moment, and it was kind of much easier in terms of utilizing Android and being able to remotely control those devices should participants on the project need support or help, or need something demoing, and then obviously we have the ability to use the access software Synaptic that was kind of going to make the process much more straightforward and compact for the individuals that we were working with, whilst also they would still have an opportunity to use Android as well and use those accessibility features also. So we kind of did a bit of a shopping list, had a little bit of a look around, and in the end, we opted to go directly to Synaptic because they provide the tablets and also the software as one package. We also at Galloway's, we worked on some paperwork, obviously putting kind of the logistical things in with loan agreements and also data consent forms in line with the Catalyst Digital Fund to make sure that we had people's agreements in terms of being able to share their stories and use their information for our figures and our analysis of the project. Can't say that word. Analysis, that's it. Our analysis of the project, and obviously a loan agreement as well. And people, are quite comfortable with that. The fact that we were actually loaning them, a tablet for the 3-month period, and also providing people with a data connection, because a lot of the people on the project didn't actually have an internet connection at home. And that was the beauty of the program, being able to provide them with an internet connection that they didn't have to commit to, but so that they were able to participate in the project.
About half and half, I think, wasn't it, really, that had internet and didn't?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it was quite difficult to think that if we were to provide people with a tablet and then say, well, you can take part in the project, but you need to go and get your own internet connection, then they would have probably had to sign up for something for 12 months.
Yeah.
You know, so it was something that we didn't want to. We needed that funding for the data connections, which we went with through EE, and they've been pretty good, to be fair.
Yeah.
I'm just going to quickly talk about the actual software before I hand over to Graham. So the software that we loaded onto the devices, they came pre-installed with obviously with Synaptic, and then we looked, myself and Graham looked around for an accessible remote desktop application that we could use, that kind of fell in line with the cost effectiveness of the program as well, and we went with a product called Zoho Assist, which enabled us and does enable us to remotely access the devices remotely. So they're all there in a nice list, 1 to 15. And obviously we know which user uses which tablet, and with their permission we can connect when we need to. So that was some fun and games, wasn't it, Graham?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time actually looking at quite a few different applications, different options, and kind of testing them out. Andrew's level of vision is quite different to mine. You have some functional low vision, and I don't really. So you know, we came down to actually, I think at my end, actually accessing, like, me using my iPhone, because it was the only way I could actually, you know, access it, because it wasn't something that that I could access through the PC. So, but that was the only option really that was accessible at all out of the ones that we tried, and we got to the stage where I could actually access somebody's tablet through my iPhone to Android, rather than kind of Windows with JAWS to Android. So that took a bit of, we had a few meetings, didn't we? And that took quite a lot of sorting out.
I think probably
testing different options.
Yeah, if we had more time, and in the future, I'm definitely really interested in looking at other options. But then there is also, I mean, when you look at remote desktop applications, the gap, the price margins are huge. You know, what we got was pretty reasonable, but you can spend hundreds of pounds on on desktop applications, remote systems. So but yeah, lots of fun and games, but we got there in the end, and that's worked quite well. So
and
that's
you've used
really
it this
good.
morning to connect June to the meeting, haven't you?
So I have,
just to prove that it does actually work. So
absolutely, yeah. So I've got to let you talk about obviously, when I came up with this idea, we had to work with a digital partner, and thankfully I was introduced to Graham, and Graham's been great to work with on the project. And actually, Graham helped me put together a training plan, a development plan. So kind of talk a little bit about, Graham, if you wouldn't mind, about kind of what we covered and why.
Okay, so we sat down, Andrew and myself. We wrote the script, or the timetable, which, as I'll come on to in a few minutes, we didn't necessarily stick to with everybody, and we based that on the kind of the 3 core components or elements of Synaptic, which are communication, independence, and entertainment. So it was each of the originally 15 participants had 8 sessions each, and that was split between the kind of 3 elements of the Synaptic software. So we started off by covering communication, which was the address book and contacts and email. That was the first session. We then wanted to get everybody onto Zoom as quickly as possible, as Galloway's activities had all gone onto Zoom fairly early on in the lockdown one. So we covered Zoom, we covered the internet, as part of the communication section. We then moved on to independence, which was for some people was Be My Eyes. And then as you'll hear a bit more about going forward in the presentation, a lot of people had a great deal of success with using it either as a video magnifier and or a reading machine, and some of the other aspects of the toolbox. And I'm just trying to think about any other independence ones, but we kind of finished up. The last two sessions were entertainment, so that was looking at the radio, the TV. With most people, to a lesser extent, the other bits, the talking newspapers, and a little bit with the RSS with some people, but not others. So that's kind of how it was broken down. And it was delivered mainly over the telephone, a little bit over Zoom. I'd say 8 hours each person, but that's kind of how that was the timetable, in a nutshell, really.
The practicalities around actually delivering the project were not particularly set in stone, were they? And no. there was a it's kind of like that split between the training and the technical support, because sometimes as you found out, you'd start to do a session with somebody and there could be a technical difficulty that they might not have been aware of, or you might not have been aware of.
I was going to kind of cover that in the next bit with the key learnings, but it kind of almost naturally evolved that I ran the training, and then because I don't like mixing training and technical support together, I never have done, because if you get a technical problem, then you stop to sort that out. You can lose your training time very quickly. So kind of drop one thing in favor of doing something else that you can do, and then Andrew was literally following me around putting fires out. I started
virtual fires, not real fires.
So we very quickly kind of divided it into, I was doing the training, and then Andrew was doing the technical support, and again, I'll mention this probably in a minute, but you were doing some extra sessions with some people, weren't you?
Yeah. Kind of covering up where, if Graham had done a session with somebody and there'd been a slight issue, or there'd been a bit of a problem, I could then, come back, help the person fix that problem, or also, kind of realize why that problem, came to be. I mean, we'll talk about, where people had accidentally put the tablet into airplane mode, or
that's one of my
switch the Wi-Fi off by accident and not realized.
He's stealing all my examples, folks. But they were two of the main ones. But also, you ended up working with a lady who found you much easier to hear than me, who has a hearing loss, and I did one session with her, and I have I've even got an adapted phone which has an amplified mic in it, but she found your Scouse accent much easier to listen to than my Kent one. So
it must be something to do with Scousers, I think. But yeah, she did, and we're actually she's done really well actually so far through the project. But I think as well, Graham, it's fair to say that from that practical delivery, from the split between the training and the technical, it's also helped us kind of, what we'll talk about later on is like with the lessons learned and things. So it's been, working together and developing that relationship being really important, which is something that I've not really done before. Working certainly at Galloway's, working with a digital partner like yourself, and we've actually struck up quite a really good working relationship, and we kind of know what each other's strengths and weaknesses are, and we just gel really well, haven't we, through the project?
It's worked incredibly well. I want to pick out some of the kind of the key things we learned from running the project, and this is maybe more from the actual training delivery side. I know what I was going to say. I was going to say that my background is very much delivering in-person, face-to-face training, and kind of doing this amount of telephone training is not something I've really done before, so that was quite a new one for me. I've done a lot with Zoom and Teams and Google Meet over the last 12 to 15 months, but actual other trainers would have had a lot more experience of telephone training than me. But it's worked well. It's gone well. Well, you'll hear from June actually in a minute or two whether it's gone well or not. But anyway, so I picked out a few. So I think we learned very early on the benefit of involving family and friends in the project, and the age spread. I don't know if this was going to get mentioned elsewhere, but the age spread amongst the 15 people was kind of between about 47, 48, and the oldest lady that I taught was 94, I think 93, 94. I think I got into trouble because I said she was 93, and she said, I'm 94, you know. But I ran, as an example, I ran a session where her daughter was there, and it was really valuable that her daughter got to see Synaptic working. She got to experience what it could do, and she got to really kind of get involved and help her mum with specifically with the reading machine, and kind of where to hold it and where to position it in the case, you know, how to get the lighting right and all that kind of thing. And I know with the Zoom, we very much encouraged people to set up Zoom calls with their, family members, sons and daughters, and what have you. And I know that Andrew as well, you've worked with one or two, kind of siblings, children, haven't you? People that have wanted to kind of get involved and help their mums and dads and what have you. So
it was connecting the two, wasn't it, Graham? It's kind of making, you can teach people these things, doing the email, doing the Zoom, but actually they've got to make it real. They've got to do it. You've got to find a way of making it real. Yeah, and we've had at least, I think it was 3 people actually that had relatives in Australia that they wanted to talk to. Australia kept coming up. It's not easy to get me, not difficult to get me sidetracked onto talking about Australia either. So we also, realised as well that people have additional specific needs. It wasn't just the sight loss. So we've had people who've they've had, if the tablet has not been positioned in a kind of static way in its case, then they've had issues holding it, picking it up. People have had issues with their hands shaking. So with the way that Synaptic works, they've sometimes accidentally caught things on the screen when they didn't mean to, which has fired them off in all directions when they didn't intend to maybe go into a certain part of the application. So we've had issues with, as it says there, with things like arthritis, but certainly with people whose hands shake a little bit, and with people's memory, and with some people, we've had to go over things several times or multiple times, or Andrew's had to put in extra sessions so that people have actually, then been able to retain a certain feature of the Synaptic software. And I think the bottom line word I would use is probably flexibility. So yes, we had the 8 sessions that were in a set order that covered set things, but in some cases people haven't wanted to do 2 weeks on the internet, or they haven't wanted to do Be My Eyes, or there's things that they've not wanted to do. But we've spent the weeks actually going over email several times, or Zoom several times, or so it's really, in quite a few cases we actually threw the script in the bin. And we've spent a lot longer on some features and a lot shorter time, or no time at all, on others. Everybody learns differently. Something I studied a very long time ago was learning styles. And I think the other thing, really, and it's probably things I've missed out, but the other thing was I think we've learned that we can collectively, we've learned that we can actually work to some very, very tight deadlines. I tendered in December, I got accepted in January, and then we didn't have very long, did we, Andrew, to recruit all the participants, to actually start delivering the sessions. It was really kind of March, April, and a bit of May, and in that time also you had to recruit and train up the volunteers. And I think we've kind of proved that we can work to some very tight deadlines and turn a massive project around in a very short space of time. But personally, if we were going to run this again, there's two things I'd do. One is I'd rejig the timetable, and secondly, I'd in an ideal world, I'd want longer times for kind of each phase of the project, so we could make sure, for instance, we had the volunteers at the beginning,
They weren't really coming on stream until the end, were they? Near the end,
Yeah,
near at the end.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're kind of the things that were kind of picked out to talk about this morning. I'm sure there are others. Are there any others you can think of, Andrew?
I think sometimes, you know, people with these more modern tablets now, as you guys will know, the buttons on the tablets are very small as well, aren't they, Graham?
Yes.
And there were, you know, there were a number of people who it took them a while to get used to finding those, you know, the volume button, which is just one button, which is like a rocker button, and then the power button, and not being able to actually, you know, feel the sensitivity in the fingers, to be able to feel those buttons and press them.
Things like that. Can I just pick out maybe two other little very quick things? One, we discovered that a very small change can make a massive difference. So we had one of the guys who was already used to double tapping on a standard Android phone, and the Synaptic was single tap or put your finger on it and then lift your finger off to perform the function. And he was really struggling with the Synaptic tablet to start with, and just by changing that, his interaction with the tablet to double tap, it just made a massive difference. And the other one we found was if you turned the tablet horizontally, it made the on off and the volume rocker buttons actually much easier to press, because if it's flush on a table, it's actually, even for me, I mean, I've got hypermobility in the ends of my fingers, but it's, even for me, if it's vertical on the desk like it is in front of me at the moment, it's actually it's quite difficult to actually get your finger around that rocker and actually perform a volume up or a volume down. It's much easier if the tablet in that situation is actually horizontal.
Yeah, I remember actually, you know, when I was obviously delivering these devices and sending them out through DPD, we were cleaning them before they went out, and I had a pair of rubber gloves on, and that I was cleaning it and feeling the size, and I couldn't feel the buttons with these rubber gloves on, and I thought that was a little bit kind of, that's what it's like for someone with less sensitivity in the fingers, that I'm able to feel those buttons. That really brought it home to me. So yeah, it was, and it was quite difficult, but you know, people eventually, you know, managed to get around that. But it's something that wasn't really, you know, in our control, because you know, all these modern tablets now are designed in that way, aren't they? Really, the buttons have got a lot smaller. So
yeah, and some people again quickly kind of, you know, they struggled with the tablet in the case, and it was kind of teaching them, you know, how to make sure the camera wasn't obscured, and how to turn the tablet in the case rather than taking it out. Just little things like that, really.
Cool.
I think we learned a lot.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Graham. Can we go to the next slide, Louise?
Yeah, I've got the next slide for you.
Okay.
The results.
Yeah. Okay. So, the you know, the model has worked. You know, it was a pilot project as well, and as you can tell, we've learned a lot from it. We had, in the end, we had 13 participants trained, including 3 volunteers, and 70% of the participants are now looking to invest in technology, in particularly in a Synaptic device.
One's already bought, hasn't he?
Yeah, we've had 2 people, we've had 2 or 3 people now buy one already, which is great. And you know, participant feedback is that, you know, it's increased people's independence across to, you know, more opportunities for social interaction, ability to access government NHS websites, and to pursue hobbies. You know, for example, you know, people really enjoyed using things like YouTube for the hobbies and finding videos and music. And I've got an excerpt here from Gordon. Gordon is 88, and he says, "Now I have independence, and it has given me my life back. It's like having another person in the house with me. It's a great friend. Since I have had the tablet, I can now read my letters. Rachel has actually planned her wedding online. She loved the video magnifier. And for June, June says, thank you for a great lesson yesterday on Zoom. This was to Graham. I managed to send 2 photos to friends and I feel awesome when they receive them. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. I was over the moon when learning to use the reading machine. I used to dread letters coming through the mailbox. I now have the independence to read my mail on my own. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that's come out of it with the reading machine. People amazed that you could do that. I couldn't wait for Graham to get in touch, okay, to deliver my sessions. It's been something I have looked forward to. I think it has been well delivered. Having a regular session every week has been great. Graham has adapted to my needs and gone at the right pace.
Well.
Yeah. I am very happy, and the tutoring has been very good and in easy stages. I like to recap on the sessions to make sure I am doing well. It has been absolutely brilliant. I have not got any relatives or siblings, so having this help has been so valuable. It has been so inspirational to be tutored over the telephone by Graham and Andrew. It's been wonderful. I feel like I am part of the family. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? And this is the bit I was really looking forward to. So we're going to unshare the slide, and Natalie, our communications officer, is now going to introduce June Arkley, who is one of our fabulous participants on the program. So over to you, Natalie and June.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening to that. So yeah, you've heard from us. So let's hear from June. Really, June's one of our participants, and we're led to believe she's really enjoyed it. So we'd like to hear her experiences. So first of all, June, how did you hear about Techability?
Well, I'd like to say, please, thank you very much to everyone, fund managers, everybody that's made this project happen, because it's been really wonderful. And I'd never ever thought that I would be able to do a tablet, and it's really been fantastic. It really has. And not only has the project been good, it's given me a lot of confidence, and the teaching and the patients have been really all coordinated really well, because sometimes, like me, when you're a bit nervous, you don't always grasp things first. So it was really good when you could approach the person, because you knew that, you know, they were ready to, they wanted to teach you, and it wasn't like you didn't feel as if you were going to get your hand slapped if you didn't get it right. So that was lovely. And Graham was kind of far away to slap my hand, so that was okay. But and the other thing was, I mean, it just was, for me, I applied to join the project, and I never ever thought for 1 minute I'd get chosen. So when I get chosen, obviously through the lockdown, I don't drive because of my sightless, and I had to use public transport and, you know, do shopping. So I thought, you've got to really get into the technology, because, you know, we don't know how long the pandemic's going to last. So now I'm on that ladder, and I'm so pleased, and it was a really good experience. And other than that, I met some lovely people on the Zoom, the Zooms. It was brilliant. Other people like myself who also suffer from sight loss, and it was really good. When I sent my first email, I thought I'd win the lottery. It was so good. And
what other things did you learn?
Oh, I've learned to, well, I learned to send my emails. That was for the first time. My friend replied. I thought, oh, wonderful. I could also join the Zooms, and I can also send photographs, things growing in the garden, to my friends, and we can swap things. And it's just, actually, it's just opened a whole new realm, you know, because as you get older and because of the pandemic, we've all been sort of in a semi-house arrest, if you will, because we've not been able to get out and, you know, join my friends the way we always used to do. So this has been a great thing for, you know, just enabling me personally to widen the horizons. It's been so good.
Right.
So
And how was it to understand and perform the tasks given by Andrew and Graham?
Well, I was lucky because when I was getting my little tasks, I jotted them down in a little notepad. And to be fair to Graham and Andrew, I wanted to do them justice by getting the tasks correctly done. You know, I didn't want to let them down or myself down, because it was such a good thing to get, you know, be part of the project. So I did a little homework book. And if I did forget, you know, my memory let me down, I was able to jump on and, you know, just refer to my notes. And that gave me confidence as well, because you were able to say to Graham the next time he came for the lesson, or if I've always thanked him after the lesson, because that was practicing the emails, of course. And hey, it was all good, you know, and I wanted to make him proud, and I wanted to make Galloway's and all the people that, you know, enabled me to join it proud, you know, because obviously a lot of people have went to a lot of trouble. So it's up to us not to let them down, really, you know, with the teaching. I'm still waiting in my cap and gown.
And would you recommend other visually impaired people with no previous experience of tech to take part in any future programs?
Well, yes, I certainly would, because I know how the fear factor was for me. So if people can overcome it like myself, I think it would be a great asset, a really good asset. And I think I said to Graham, I thought the machine was just like a little miracle in a box, because it was quite, the way everybody had it set out, it was so good to the instructions. And I mean, you can go back, you can get yourself out with your little red box at the top. There's no worries about that. Whereas sometimes if you're maybe in other devices, you can get a bit muddled. So no, it was really good. I mean, I live in Morecambe, and we're famous for Eric Morecambe, and his songs always bring me sunshine. And that little box has brought me sunshine. Truthful, it has. And the boys have been great.
Oh, that's lovely to hear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, June. That's absolutely brilliant feedback, and that's exactly why we do these things, you know, to help people, and it's wonderful to get that feedback. So we're going to hand you over again to Tina, who's going to talk to us about the digital owls.
So, because I put in the funding applications, one big sort of learning benefit of applying to Catalyst was that they follow a sort of an online working lineup, which is what OWL stands for. And that involved sort of peer learning events, and we had funder reviews, and they encouraged us to do things like week notes using something called Medium, which is a publishing sort of paper almost online, and they encouraged us to write a blog, which Natalie did. You know, we did online presentations, and we used their project management system. So there was an awful lot of additional work during the project, but actually we've learned an awful lot by doing that. And it's sort of things that we're going to be able to use again in the future when we're applying for funding. We're going to be able to talk about you know, some of this information. Graham and Andrew did a fantastic session about accessibility, which was online, and Natalie wrote a blog about that, which went into the newspaper. We had a service recipe. We've got at the end of project the information that you can go and have a look at if you're interested, and that service recipe really sort of steps at, you know, sort of details the various steps we went through in order to deliver this project. And there's loads of service recipes up there. So even if you're interested in another project, it's useful to go and have a look at that, because you can pick up some ideas, but you can also see how somebody else has delivered it for free and get in contact with them. We participated in a festival of learning event. Natalie put together the poster, and we held, I think it was probably 2 or 3 coffee chats where people could come online and talk to us about the project. And we've also applied to the Tech for Good Awards. So there's been an awful lot of additional stuff as well as funding, and we've just recently got continuation funding for the project as well. So it's come with a lot of sort of extra benefits. So that's it. Thank you, Louis.
Excellent. Okay, so the future. Yes, we've received some future funding for the project because we wanted to help people kind of move from that stage of they can now make an informed choice about whether the technology is right for them or not. And it also gives us an opportunity to help people transition over to a new device should they wish to either fund that themselves, or we are able to help people as well with a bid to other organisations that will be able to fund them through a grant, such as the RNIB Technology Grant. So that's enabling us to do that with the future funding, and we'll be doing that till the first week in August. So it gives people a lot more time with the devices, with the internet connection, to really make a better informed choice. So we're really grateful to Catalyst and the National Lottery for that opportunity. But going forward into the future, as you heard from Tina there before, the service recipe is on the Catalyst website. And that's something that, that we will use to develop this project further. As it was a pilot project, we would love to do it again, and so the service recipe we'll be able to build on that, and you can also check that out from the resources once we send those around. One thing that we developed in April, which is kind of part of our continuation funding, is our Synaptic training group and the Tech Ability Volunteer Champions. So we have every 2 weeks, we have a session on Zoom. It's a peer support group, and people from the Tech Ability Project, and also other people from Galloway's who use Synaptic, they all come together every 2 weeks. Graham does join as well, and we provide questions, how-tos, demonstrations, and it's a really nice peer support led group that we run on Zoom. So it's great to get a mix of Tech Ability and people from Galloway's. We plan to reuse obviously the tablets and software for people that obviously want to try this the program, try and use Synaptic. And we'll also look at new ways that we can either fund that, or we can let people loan the devices, and we can take them through some of the tailored training going forward. So it's great that we've got those 15 devices to carry on using as a legacy of the project and a continuation of what we've learned and what we've built upon. Using the new I'll Learn and future projects has been really beneficial actually for my individual own learning process, and being able to interact with other organisations to find out what they're doing, and it's opened up a lot of doors for us to share information and also learn from other organisations, which will hopefully take us forward and give us new ideas of other wonderful things that we can do, that I can say, hey Tina, can we have a go at doing that? So that hopefully that will move us forward in the future. All of our participants, are now on their digital journey. So whatever decision they decide to make, the most important thing is that they've had the opportunity to make that informed choice or decision. They now can say that they've experienced technology, they've had a go, and they'll either know whether it's right for them or not, or whether they need, future, help in, going forward. And again, we want to develop the supportive network. So, if any of you guys on today's call, want to find out more, and you check out the resources on the next slide that we'll email it around as well. But, please do get in touch. It's great to share the info. And most importantly, it's great to talk. Okay, we'll just jump over to the next slide, please. So we've got a range of resources that you can tap into, and as I said before, we will email these so that you've got them. We'll email the slides as well. We've got an accessibility blog, which is on the Catalyst website. We've got our project blog about the Techability project, our service recipe, our baseline survey. Because we did a range of surveys with all the participants to find out where they were at the beginning to where they've come at the end, and how their journey has developed. So we've done that. And we've also got our presentation to Catalyst on YouTube from when we started the project, and also our week notes. Our week by week notes are also available on the Medium platform, so you'll be able to access those once we've sent those around. Okay, and we'd love to take your questions, and have an open kind of discussion about today's event and about the Techability project, and anything that you'd like to discuss with us. Any questions? We'd love to hear from you.
Tell everybody, June, about you going on YouTube and finding out how to reattach your door handles and your cupboard handles in your kitchen.
No, my door handles in my sitting room.
That's right. That was quite amazing.
And they were getting a bit tarnished, so I thought, I wonder what I could do to polish them up. And anyway, I thought, they're always talking about this YouTube, so I went on YouTube. And there was 5 different people, all had a solution to my problem. It was wonderful.
Any questions that you'd like to put forward? Just if you could say your name and what organisation you're from, that would be brilliant.
Hi, Andrew, and hello to Graham and Tina and everybody else, and June as well. Wow, I was really impressed with that. It was great to hear. I think
I can get your handles done anytime.
I just got one quick question, and I think probably Graham maybe would be the best to answer this. I know you mentioned before about one of the things that you had learned through the project was perhaps a bit more time in the training. When you came up with the 8 hours at the beginning, how did you come up with those initial 8 hours for the training?
I'm not. Andrew will probably actually. I don't know how the decision was arrived at that it was. I can't remember if I did know how it was.
Yeah, it was
going to be eight hours per person. But what I said earlier was that we really kind of divided it up between the core components of Synaptic, and it just kind of evolved when we sat down to write the timetable. It kind of naturally evolved communication, then independence, then entertainment. In fact, we'd have quite a discussion about which order to put in, didn't we?
Yeah.
We didn't know whether to go communication, entertainment, independence, or the way we finally decided to do it. I'm not quite sure, Andrew, how did it arrive at 8 hours?
It was partly down to the funding, but it was also, the time allowance as well, and the time that we were running the project for, and equaled by the number of participants that we were running the project with, really. So it was kind of a compromise of all those different areas to come up with also, you know, what we wanted to cover, those 4 areas that we covered, and splitting those up into you know, different sessions. In fact, even though we say 8 weeks, it is more like 9 weeks, because we also did, and I did
week 0, didn't we?
yeah, I did what we called week 0, which was, you know, people getting the devices, they're being delivered, I would remote on with them. I would almost like a low vision assessment in a way.
Yeah.
I would ask them what they could see, if they could see, and if they couldn't see, we would go through the audible features, and we would get the voice right, we get the speed right, we'd go through the menu operation, the keyboard, how to navigate around. So by the time that Graham was then coming along to do the very first session, they already had, you know, those skills to kind of understand how the device was made up with the menus and the cancel and go back, but you know, all the different areas. So in the end, it was probably about 9 weeks that they had.
There was also right at the very end. I mean, we didn't use it with everybody, but there was actually a kind of bonus session at the end, like a kind of wash up session, wasn't there? At the end, there was like a week, I don't know, a week 9 if you like, but I think it was kind of more down to the way it was funded and the way we actually broke it up. The one thing we chose not to do for whatever reason was we didn't include in the communication phone calls and texting. We're just using it as a tablet and not as a phone.
Yeah.
Does that help, Steve? Or?
Yeah, oh yeah, it certainly does. I mean, I think now Synaptic is such a fantastic product.
Yeah, it's come a long way.
And I'm listening to June's testimony. I think it's just the whole project is great, and obviously the outcomes you've had. I'd certainly be really pleased with that, because been, you know, involved with training myself for so many years. To have a really good outcome like that is so positive.
It is.
Really good.
I would just like to throw something back at Steve and say Steve was actually my I'm not gonna make any secret of this. Steve was my reserve trainer if I'd walked under a bus one morning. If I'd ended up with COVID or whatever, then Steve was my backup, and we had some.
Well, I'm very pleased that you didn't.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I really we've known each other a long time, and also we had some very useful sessions on a Saturday lunchtime. We had 2 or 3, didn't we, where we were kind of comparing.
Oh, we did. Yes,
notes,
absolutely.
and it was well, I'm stuck on this, and you're stuck on that, and how do I do this? And that's brilliant. I didn't know you could do that. And we had 2 or 3 of those, which were really useful. So a little bit of credit to Steve for that.
I think as well, you know, we by using Synaptic, we had the best possible chance of getting people through this training in the way that we were wanting to deliver it. And I always talk about, you know, making things compact for people. If you've got a big kitchen cupboard and it's absolutely full of all your kitchen stuff, you can't find anything. If you've got if you've got smaller cupboards in all little tiny cupboards with all a range of all the things you need, that's what Synaptic's like. It's more compact. It's not as daunting for people to use, whilst actually some of the people on the project are starting to use the Android side of things now anyway, which is great. But we wanted to go in from that very, very basic level, and use Synaptic to it's a very, very quick win. Synaptic, that's the thing for me.
There's nothing else like it, really. There is one other product that I can think of, which I'm not going to name, that is similar, but there's nothing quite like it. And as Steve said, I've actually got a Samsung S3 here with the very first release of Synaptic on it, and to compare the two, it's come such a long way. It really has, and you know, Synaptic don't pay us to say things like that. So
thank you, Graham. I know Peter's got his hand up.
Yep, sorry.
Hey, Peter.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you very much, Andrew, Graham, and everybody.
Cheers, Steve.
Okay, it's Pete Howard from Sightline here. It said earlier on that 70% were taking up the tech. Does that mean that all the participants have been successful in learning technology, or are there any that are not able to take up the technology? And if not, what are the plans to help them for the future?
The I mean, the continuation funding that we've received is kind of allowing us to work with you know, those 30% of people that are still, you know, not at that decision where whether they want to take it forward or not. You know, there are a number of people on the project who maybe found it a little bit much, you know, making it. I talked before about making it real. And having the urge to grab the tech, to use it, and to have something to use it for. And, you know, for some people, when we would teach them the emails or the Zoom, they might say, well, I haven't actually got anyone that I know, or a friend or a family member that uses Zoom or email. So what do I do? So we would email with them and do things with them. And that's where we were trying to engage people with Galloways as well, and getting them to use the device to engage with Galloways. So essentially, you know, the people that don't decide to move forward with the technology, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's, of course, we'd love 100%, but we always knew that, you know, going through this project, there would be skeptical people. There's always going to be people that they'll try it, but they might decide that it's just not going to be for them. It's, you know, some people will say that, you know, they've managed all their life without technology, so why do I need it now? You know what, people can be like that way. But I think most important thing is, again, Peter, is about that informed decision. All the people through that 70% there, all the people that have actually done all the training, they've been through the whole project, and there's still some people there where it's still kind of sinking in, and they're still considering the next move as well. So, but if they don't, you know, move forward with it, I still feel like we've learned a lot from them. They've learned a lot from us. And, you know, they know that Galloways are there to provide support going forward. And I think by getting that continuation funding has been really important.
Definitely.
Hasn't it, Graham? It means that we can carry on with them.
So what we're intending to put my teeth in. What we are intending to do during July is actually we've got the opportunity to provide 6 of the 15 with an extra hour, an extra session for recap, which I think for some of them will be extremely valuable. And I think just to reinforce the success, there's only one person who actually didn't complete the 8 sessions. There's a couple that didn't start for whatever reason, isn't Andrew? But there's only one person out of all of the others, including the volunteers. There's only one person who dropped out or didn't. Sorry, that's a negative way of putting it, but didn't complete the 8 sessions.
Yeah, I think as well, you have to remember that the people that we were working with, we're all identified at having those limited experience of using a device, or you know, not being online before. Or there were also people that since their sight loss, they'd completely given up on technology, and they weren't aware of the accessibility functions that existed on a device that would mean they could use it. And you know, that was the thing as well. So the 70% we think is a really brilliant outcome, you know, of the project. But I hope that answers your question, Peter.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Cheers.
And Andrew, in the chat, this is probably relevant as well for what Peter's asked. David has asked about you know, where you were talking about the buttons and feeling the difficulties and stuff. He's just basically asked, are you going to feed it back to the manufacturers of the tablet? But I'd say from I've been doing this in the background, Peter, with Andrew and Graham, and some of the things that I've heard about the extremities of your fingers, and that was that the person who dropped out? She was really struggling with feeling for the tablet buttons and stuff. But if you answer the question that David's just asked anyway.
I think it's a really difficult one, David. It's definitely something that we can take back to the manufacturer, which is Samsung. It's something that's kind of out of it's out of Synaptic's control really, in terms of the buttons on the device, because they use the hardware to drive the Synaptic software. I think it has highlighted to us, for future projects, that to give that a much more of a consideration, and to look at either alternative hardware or additional accessories that we could use to broaden that gap.
I think it's worth mentioning something.
Can I come in?
Sorry.
Yeah, hi David.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I think we should be feeding it back, because it's an issue that they need to deal with in terms of inclusive design.
Yeah.
And there may be way that they could actually sort of put a milled edge or something like that to increase, to keep this sort of design very much the same, but increase the sensitivity, the possibility of sensitivity for people to feel them. So it needs feeding back, because they need to address the issue, not Synaptics.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's a really really good comment, actually.
Can I jump in? Didn't you say last week, Andrew, that very shortly Synaptic are going to release a new range of is it the Samsung Z tablets that every 18 months they refresh the tablets that they put Synaptic onto. So it may be the new ones are better designed, David, and at the moment I haven't seen one of the new ones yet. So
it's an interesting concept though, because we concentrate a lot, don't we, on the mainstream technology being so accessible in the innards, in the software, that we probably forget about the exterior, the actual hardware itself, and the buttons on it, and how people find those. So yeah, you're absolutely right, David. It's something that we will do, and also we'll feed it back to Synaptic as well. As pushing it back to Samsung. I think it's kind of finding the right person within Samsung actually as well, to feed that back to.
Andrew, actually, following on from that, Renu asked earlier, please can I ask what tablets were used?
Yes.
Samsung.
Yeah, Samsung. No, I'm joking. Samsung, we're using the 2019 edition of the Samsung Tab A, which is a 10.2 inch display.
Great, thank you, Andrew.
Hope that, no problem. Thanks, Renu.
Ken had his hand up before.
Hi, Ken.
And Paresh has also got their hand up as well.
Oh, I love that everybody's got loads of questions. That's brilliant. Thank you. Go on, we'll go with Ken. Hi, Ken.
Hi, it's Ken from Telephones for the Blind.
Hi, Ken.
Actually, Graham answered my question inadvertently, so I was just wondering, you said you got the continuation on the funding, which is great.
Yeah.
I just wondered if they'd re-engage Graham, but it sounds like they have.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Well, while I've got your attention, just another one that's just personally for me, it's a techie one, but the accessibility on the remote access. So you went for Zoho. But did you find any others that were possible candidates? Because it is an important point, isn't it?
Not really, did we? Not that were cost effective, that were accessible, did we really?
Yeah, it was a lot of it was about the cost effectiveness of it, really. So I think going forward with doing projects going forward, I would probably, now that we've gone into this type of project, I would now do a bit more research and a lot more testing on things like Team Viewer, for example. But it is very expensive.
It is.
You need a license.
Yeah, that's the problem.
£500 a year, I think, for a corporate license for Team Viewer.
So I think again, it's a learning process, isn't it? So running this project has given us that opportunity to we got something that worked between us. It wasn't perfect, but we know more what to look for in the future to make it easier.
They were responsive as well, weren't they, Andrew? And actually fixing some stuff for us. Do you remember? Yeah,
that was quite good as well. We had a few problems at the start before we set the tablets out.
Yeah,
we had a few problems with initiating the remote support, and they were quite good Zoho assistants supporting us.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, clearly the project's been a great success, hasn't it? And from Tina's perspective, there's some real good outcomes. So power to your elbow.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And whilst me and Graham are there, doing the delivery of the project, Tina and Natalie are the real brains behind it as well.
Absolutely.
So, we couldn't do it without them.
Well, I know when you said brains, you'll be leaving you two behind, so that's all right.
So that was great. Thanks for that. Thanks, Ken.
Okay.
Paresh, hiya, Paresh, how are you doing?
Hi, Andrew. Hi, everybody.
Hi,
It's so lovely to see all of you guys. So thank you, Tina, for inviting us to this, sharing your project with us. It's absolutely fantastic. And for me to listen to June, I think that was the proof of the pudding. The enthusiasm, the whole way it just worked for her. This is really, really good. So I've got a couple of just practical questions. So the first one is, did you guys have like a recruitment in terms of how did you choose your delegates? Did they have to go through meet a certain criteria before you pick them up? And my second question is around security and passwords and stuff like that. How did you guys overcome that side of stuff?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So with the kind of recruitment, we wanted to work with people that had very limited experience, using a device, and particularly people that hadn't experienced the benefits of being online before as well. So along with that, at Galloway's we have 4 different centres. We have quite a big team of sight loss advisors, and normally they will put a lot of referrals through to assistive technology, which is myself, and we have some other members of the team in assistive technology now as well. So we came up with some criteria for the ideal candidates, based on also recommendations from our sight loss advice team as well, for people that would greatly benefit from learning to use the technology. And of course those requirements were that they didn't have an internet connection at home, which means they're most likely not going to be online, and also that we also wanted to work with people that had kind of given up on technology as well. Since kind of losing the sight, there were a couple of people that had technology at home, they didn't use it. It might have been the husband's, for example, the husband's computer, but they'd just basically given up on using technology altogether, and needed a little bit of a nudge to use technology and to have that support and training. So that was good, because that educated family as well. But we also put a few adverts out there in our weekly and monthly newsletters, to get some people's interest, and we had about 3 or 4 people that came through that, and then the rest were kind of through referrals and through who we thought would be the most based on our criteria, the most kind of eligible to take part in the program. And of course there was no means testing or anything like that, because it was all to do with loaning a tablet and having it for a limited amount of time. In terms of passwords and things like that, security, between myself and Graham, we have used secure platforms in terms of people's data. We've had their consents as well at the beginning of the project, that we could share the data between us. So myself and Graham have been using secure methods, in line with GDPR, to make sure that people's data is secure. And we also, with the actual devices themselves, we set those up. They come set up with Google, with a Google account on each tablet, and each participant has a synaptic email address, which
makes it easier.
Yeah. So if they choose to, when they go and get their own, we'll work with Synaptic to migrate the account and all the personal data that they will have used to a new device, and then when we get the devices back, we wipe them basically before we would allow anybody else to use them again. And in terms of the Zoho Assist, we couldn't actually just remote on to the devices without the participants' permission, and they had to tap on a start now button on the screen to actually let us access the device as well. So yeah, they were concerns of ours as well.
I don't think. Sorry, I think one of the other things that was I thought was quite good was there was no oversharing of information. So the only information I had was the person's name and the phone number.
Yeah.
And what area of what part of the Galloways, which area they were from, which geographical area they were from.
Which tablet number they were as well.
Yeah, I got the tablet number. I'm not sure I didn't need to use that too often, but I didn't have people's addresses or anything. It was literally name, phone number, tablet number. That was it.
Yeah.
Did you get situations whereby, after the end of the training and the attachment people have with the devices, for them to give that device back to you guys, must be very, very difficult for some of them, because they've kind of got attached to it, and suddenly
yeah, we were worried about that, weren't we, Graham?
Yeah,
and that was
they haven't given them back yet, and also I think, as we said earlier, we're very, very keen on the fact that there will be an overlap for anybody who wants to get their own. We're very keen that they will get their own, get the funding, or be able to pay for their own and get their own and get it set up and start using it before they give the Galloways one back. So there's a complete overlap. There is no gap in which some of the learning could kind of slip down the gap, if you like.
It was funny, wasn't it? Because we did say to people that the project was going to be ending by the first week of May, and we weren't sure whether we were successful, with the continuation funding. So we didn't really tell people that we might get, because you want to build people's hopes up. So when I was ringing around to say to people, and Graham as well, ringing around to say to people, guess what, you keep the tablets for longer, you got the internet connection for longer, and they were like, oh, thank God for that. I thought I'd have to give it back this week. I didn't know what I was going to do.
Well, I had one lady actually really, she rang me up and she was panicking. It's like, well, my SIM card's going to switch off next week, and what am I going to do? Because I need funding, I can't afford to buy one, and I really want one. But she was, and then I said, no, actually, we've now got some extra funding. We can let you keep it.
Yeah, so that's been the beauty of it, being able to do that, and as you say, help people. There are about 4 or 5 people on the project that will qualify if they wish to. That will qualify for a grant that Galloways can support them with that through the RNIB as well.
RNIB technology grant.
For you guys, Paresh. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. Great.
Yeah,
bring them on. That's what. So well done, guys. Thank you so much again.
Good to hear.
It's been great.
Thank you. Have we got any more questions in the chat there, Lou, or anyone else that wants to ask a question?
No, I've not got anything else in the chat, and there's no hands up.
Oh wow. Yeah, we've been proper grilled today, but it's been great.
Fantastic. Thanks everybody for coming.
It's been great. Obviously thank everybody for their involvement and for everybody in the network as well, and for people that are new people that have not been in this Catalyst network but that have joined us today. It's great to also have you come on board and join us, and it's like the Oscars, but big thanks must go to June for because it is proof of the pudding, isn't it, really? And Louise for doing the slides, and as I'll say, most importantly, Tina and Natalie for your involvement. How much have you guys enjoyed the working on the project and being involved with it? How have you found it, Tina and Natalie?
I've loved it. It's been really interesting learning different things with the Festival of Learning and the OWL stuff. It's just like added an extra element, and then seeing it from because I work in comms, so I'm a little bit outside of services, so it's nice to be involved and really see how it works. Enjoyed it.
Brilliant. Tina, how about you?
Yeah, I think I mean, it's been very time intensive, I would say. So normally I'm used to getting the funding in and moving on to the next fund. So this has had an awful lot more sort of project coordination than probably we'd anticipated at the start. So I think, yeah, I've definitely enjoyed it an awful lot, and it's actually easier to report on it because I've been so involved. Whereas normally I would be one step removed and I'd be asking Andrew, oh, you know, via email, or can you send me the latest update? Whereas this time actually been right in the middle of it. So yes, I think from that point of view, it's been really good, but not to underestimate the additional work, really, the additional commitments that we've all had to put in.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Tina. Excellent stuff. Well, again, thank you everybody for joining us today. We will make this available if you know to watch as well. Again, so we'll eventually send around a link, and we may put this on our YouTube channel as well, and use it with Catalyst also. So if you know anybody that wants to know more, you know, they'll be able to catch up on the slides in the video, and we'll also send the slides through as well. And yeah, that's a wrap, and thank you very much everyone for joining.
Sorry,
Thank you
Andrew.
all. Thank
Renew,
Thanks,
Renew,
Andrew.
Cheers now. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Renew's got a question, Andy.
Oh, go on. Yeah.
Oh,
It's all
sorry.
right. Hey.
Quick question. Sorry, it just came in my head just now. 2 quick questions. Did you guys sort of try out before you were going to do the project? During working with iPads for the clients.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that was one of the things that I'm interested in doing in the future. I think the thing for us was as I said, we wanted this to be as a quick win and as straightforward as possible, considering the barriers around COVID as well, and not being able to be face to face with people, and also being able to access the devices remotely, as you'll probably know yourself, is a lot trickier with Apple devices in terms of, yes, you can view the screen on an Apple device, but you can't actually gain access to it or provide support. So that was a deal breaker for us with this project. But I think if we had a mix of face to face and remote, and it was using iPads, then absolutely we would do that, because anyone will tell you that I'm very much an Apple person anyway. So there you go. But yeah, no, great question. But yes, we did consider that, and that could be something we do in the future.
Just one quick one again. Sorry. When you started with the tablets, the Android tablets, how did you sort of start with access? Did you kind of use like how we use on the iPad? We say, "Hey Siri, switch on VoiceOver." Did you use? You might have said this earlier in the chat. Apologies if it's repeated. Did you sort of use Google Assistants to enter in, or did you kind of
No, we didn't. Yeah, no, we didn't really go that far into Google Assistant. No, and the reason, I suppose the reason was being because we only really covered little bits with the time given. We only really covered small areas of Android, like Be My Eyes and
Zoom.
Be My Eyes, Zoom. Zoom. With a few people, like for example, with June. June wanted to start using the App Store, downloading apps and things like that. So
and Michael did as well.
Michael did as well, didn't he? So, but most people were quite happy for now, just being involved in the synaptic environment.
It was a big learning curve for them, wasn't it? Really? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
We did show them how to dictate into voice dictate into editable areas. That was as much as we did with the voice. What's as much as I did with the voice control with anyone, and that was within Synaptic and not outside.
Okay. And what would you have used if you were to? So what would have been the equivalent of Synaptic for the iPad if you were to go down that route?
Well, there isn't.
There isn't one. You'd have to teach individual apps for each feature.
You'd go through obviously like accessibility, Zoom and voiceover, speak screen and things like that, you know, for people who, you know, if they were yeah, but there are no apps out there for iOS.
If you're teaching things like seeing AI and how to use Zoom, you'd be using individual applications for each feature of what you know of what we've taught with one package with Synaptic, and it is because it is all just completely all built into the one package. It's a little bit steppy in places, you know. You have to maybe it could be slightly less steps to do a particular thing, but it's still a lot easier for a lot of people to grasp than it is with individual Android apps or individual Apple
iOS.
apps. iOS
Sure.
apps, thanks.
iOS is like it's very locked. It's locked down, isn't it?
It is. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I really do.
Yeah.
But
cool. Great. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Renu. Cheers.
Courses and all that.
Brilliant. That's it. I think we're done.
Wow.